Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. The U.S. House passed a funding bill that would have avoided a government shutdown tomorrow night, but it looks like Chuck Schumer is going to hold it up in the Senate, so we may be in for a shutdown after all. Trump administration ICE unleashes on the Biden administration after arrests in less than 2 months surpass all of 2024 arrests. Trump's ICE officials say Biden was cooking the books. You ready for this? An Oregon Mental Health Advisory Board includes a member who identifies as a terrapin species, a turtle. Their pronouns, they, them, turtle. Congressman Ralph Norman joins us today to talk about the funding bill passed this week and what President Trump and DOGE are doing to uncover and remove waste, fraud, and abuse at all levels of the federal government.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but you know they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Is Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues in the U.S. Senate playing chicken with the continuing resolution passed by the House this week? We'll get Congressman Norman's take on this a little bit later in the show. This would have avoided a shutdown tomorrow night, but it appears we may be headed there after all. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced yesterday that most Democrats in the upper chamber will not support a House Republican-passed bill to fund the federal government through the end of September, all but ensuring a partial shutdown beginning at 11:59 p.m. Friday.
Funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, but Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. Because of that, Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House CR. Our caucus is unified on a clean April 11th CR that will keep the government open and give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass. We should vote on that. I hope our Republican colleagues will join us to avoid a shutdown on Friday. I yield the floor.
Well, here we go. I'm not quite sure I saw this one coming, with Republicans holding a 53-47 advantage in the Senate and legislation needing 60 votes to overcome a filibuster. At least 7 Democrats will need to support the spending bill, which passed the House 217 to 213 Tuesday night. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky has also opposed the measure, so the GOP will actually need 8 Democrat defections if there is full attendance in the chamber. And that's an if, because quite often there's not. Following Tuesday night's vote in the House Speaker Mike Johnson announced the lower chamber of Congress would recess until March 24th. They all came home, leaving Schumer with the option of accepting the House bill and keeping the federal lights on over the objection of progressive activists, or rejecting it and putting the nation's capital on course for the 11th partial government shutdown since 1980. In a statement after the lower chamber passed the funding bill, Johnson said it was decision time for Senate Democrats. Cast a vote to keep the government open or be responsible for shutting it down, he said. The House Speaker said it's now decision time for Senate Democrats. He said, in a shameful display of coordinated political theater, Democrats are willing to run out the clock on funding the government in a failed attempt to block the America First agenda. All right, so what are your predictions here? Is Schumer going to play a game of chicken? And is he going to hold out? Is he going to try to stare the Republicans down? And look, I go back to every time we cross this path. Do you care? Do you really care if the government shuts down? Maybe it'll save us some money. The problem is when we have this partial shutdown, basically all it does is gives a bunch of bureaucrats some days off because they go home, they don't do anything, but yet we still pay them. We pay them retroactively when the government opens back up. What they should do is shut it down and say, look, we're not going to pay you. Between now and when your Democrat colleagues decide to reopen the government to pass this funding bill, you're just not going to get paid, and we're not going to go back and make it retroactive either. Before Schumer's announcement, the only Senate Democrat to openly back the House GOP continuing resolution was John Fetterman, the goofy guy from Pennsylvania. Georgia Senator John Ossoff, August King from Maine, Mark Kelly from Arizona, Ruben Gallego from Arizona had signaled openness to maybe supporting the bill. Maybe. Liberal activists pointed out that the current spending fight was the last big chance for Democrats to extract concessions from Republicans this fall, when the fiscal year 2026 appropriations process truly begins, when the budget process really starts up. Before the Senate convened yesterday morning, Democrats huddled in their caucus meeting. They had a lunch to plot their next steps. Senator Van Hollen, he's from Maryland, a Democrat from Maryland, told reporters afterwards, at least for now, I don't see the votes. Based on my reading of the end of the meeting, I don't see the votes there right now for passing their House Republican CR. Senator John Hickenlooper, Democrat from Colorado, admitted to reporters before lunch, I've gone back and forth on this thing 3 times because it's 2 horrible choices. Hickenlooper explained, if you shut down the government, the president is the person who decides what is essential. He decides what part of the government stays open, so you're actually giving him more power. That's true. And here's what really scares them, because on the other side of that argument, a senior Democrat aide told the New York Post that some members' biggest worry is that a shutdown leaves Elon Musk alone in the candy store, referring to, of course, DOGE. The source said, it wouldn't be your grandfather's shutdown. They're terrified that by allowing this shutdown, that, of course, Trump's going to be calling the shots and he's going to put Elon Musk in charge, which would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? Many Democrats on Capitol Hill, I believe, had probably thought that the House would never pass something. They were hoping that House Republicans, the infighting within the Republican caucus, would keep them from passing a resolution. But as you'll hear a little bit later today from Congressman Ralph Norman, he has never voted for a continuing resolution, he said. But House Republicans who traditionally don't like to support these continuing resolution, these funding bills, said because Donald Trump has asked them to do so, they did it this one time to show unity. So for once, the Republicans stuck together. Now it looks like the Democrats are falling apart. One senior Senate Republican aide said every hour that passes only puts them on an island where it's obvious they have no plan, and the headlines are, will Democrats shut down the government? Well, that's the headlines. After Chuck Schumer made his little speech on the Senate floor, that became the breaking news, that the Democrats are threatening to allow a government shutdown. They can't blame it on Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, he whipped up the votes in the U.S. House and got the Republicans to pass this. The Republicans stuck together. Another GOP operative says that if the CR fails to clear the Senate by Friday, he said this will be a Democrat-engineered shutdown. The CR that Republicans passed through the House largely keeps government funding level steady. It has a slight $6 billion boost to defense and a roughly $10 billion increase to immigration and customs enforcement funding to allow them to keep working at the border. To offset the cost according to Representative Norman, the CR cuts back on about $13 billion in non-defense discretionary spending. Only one House Democrat, Representative Jared Golden, who holds one of the most fiercely competitive seats, voted in favor with the Republicans in the House. And there was one Republican, Thomas Massey, who voted against. He voted with the Democrats in the House. Golden said in a statement, this CR is not perfect, but a shutdown would be worse. Even a brief shutdown would introduce even more chaos and uncertainty at a time when our country can ill afford it. Mr. Golden also rebuked his party for what he called false suggestions that the CR would cut funding for important social programs. This is, thank you, Representative Golden, for calling your Democrat colleagues out for creating chaos when there really isn't a problem there. Golden said there are no cuts to veterans care in the bill, period. He said we have 6 months to ensure funding continues in the next fiscal year. To say this bill contains cuts is at best a misreading that creates unnecessary fear among veterans. But that's what the Democrats like. They play on fear. They want everybody to fear the shutdown. Folks, this is going to be fun to watch. Hi, Joey Hudson here. You know, this spring there's a renewed energy and focus on efficiencies, and shaking up unhealthy habits don't serve us well. There's so much chatter about making America great again, but it starts in your home with you being the best, healthiest version of yourself. And PhD Weight Loss is doing their part because for the first time ever, the first 11 callers get 2 free weeks added to your weight loss program. That is huge. PhD's out to prove that you don't need Big Pharma to reach your goals. It just creates dependency, not long-term change. Dr. Ashley Lucas researched weight loss trends for years and discovered a scientifically proven way to retrain your body to burn fat efficiently without hunger, extreme exercise, or dangerous medications. PhD clients watch their belly fat disappear, their energy skyrocket, cholesterol and blood pressure normalize without starving themselves. I lost over 30 pounds and I've never felt better. So call now and mention promo code Joey for my 2 weeks for free with my program. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. Okay, you ready for this one? The Biden administration, brace yourself, was cooking the books on immigration enforcement. Who could have seen this one coming, right? Oh, wait, we did, didn't we? Here's what you need to know. President Donald Trump has been back in office for less than 2 months, and ICE has already made more real arrests than the Biden-Harris administration did in all of 2024. Actual enforcement is back. The border is tightening up. It's not exactly where it needs to be, but it's getting there fast, and America's getting safer every single day because of it. Yet Joe Biden said that it wasn't possible. Joe Biden pretended that we couldn't secure our border. But here's what you need to know. Here's the real kicker. I mean, here's what Joe Biden's people were faking all along. Evidently, even the numbers that they were publishing weren't even correct. They were padding their enforcement stats by classifying illegal aliens who were simply processed and released into the country as arrest. That's like saying you're arrested when all you did was give them a bus ticket to anywhere they wanted to go and just turn them loose. This wasn't enforcement. It was a taxpayer-funded Uber program for illegal immigrants. Just that simple. Now, thanks to Donald Trump, who promised us during the election in 2024 that he was going to secure our borders, and the fraud of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is being exposed. ICE Director Todd Lyons confirmed that his agency reviewed Joe Biden's so-called enforcement actions and found tens of thousands of cases where Biden's DHS claimed an arrest, but in reality, the individuals were set loose into American cities. Now we're going to round them back up because we don't know who they are and what they may have done from the countries they were fleeing. This is exactly what we've been saying for years. The Democrats never cared about border security. They just wanted to pretend they were doing something while continuing their real goal. And that goal was to flood the country with illegal immigrants, building a permanent underclass and changing the very fabric of our country. And hoping that at some point they'd be allowed to register to vote. as Democrats. But now it's a totally different story because they never envisioned Donald Trump was going to be back in the Oval Office. That was not part of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's plans. ICE is back in full force, and they're going after every single illegal alien in this country that shouldn't be here. In just a few short weeks, ICE has already made over 32,000 real arrests, and this week they'll surpass Joe Biden's entire year-long total. I was in a meeting yesterday. I serve on the board of directors of Crime Stoppers in upstate South Carolina. And the U.S. Marshal for South Carolina, the Marshal's office in Greenville, very confidently told us that they are assisting law enforcement at all levels in rounding up people who shouldn't be in our community. And they were very proud of it. The lady who is the U.S. Marshal in our area was very proud of the fact that she and her agents are helping Donald Trump's enforcement efforts. And she said very clearly, if you're here illegally, we're going to round up the worst of the worst first, and then gradually work our way down. So let's talk about who they're arresting, because this is where it gets really disturbing. Of those arrested already, 14,000 have been convicted of some type of criminal action. Nearly 10,000 have pending criminal charges against them, and over 1,150 are suspected gang members. That's 2.5 times what was arrested in the same period last year under Joe Biden. So ask yourself, why were these people still in America to begin with? Why were they allowed to be here in our country? We know the answer. Because under the Biden-Harris administration, ICE was shackled. Agents weren't allowed to do their jobs. And illegal immigrants were given more protections than American citizens in some cases. Donald Trump's unleashing ICE. He's empowering law enforcement to do what they're hired to do and what we expect them to do. Arrest and deport criminals. And folks, the results speak for themselves. Not only are more criminals being taken off the streets, but illegal border crossings have also plummeted. The moment Biden's ridiculous open border policies were repealed, illegal immigrants stopped pouring into our country because they know under Trump they're going to get a one-way ticket back home. So why waste their time? Why risk coming into our country? It's no longer worth the risk. And that's all Joe Biden had to say. Joe Biden could have sent the same message had he wanted to, but he didn't want to. And if you want even more proof that the tide is turning, listen to this. The Department of Homeland Security just replaced the disastrous CBP Win app, the one that Joe Biden used to funnel illegal immigrants into the country, with a new system that helps facilitate self-deportations. Trump's administration is now saying that these illegal immigrants, that they recognize it's time to go. And they're telling them, you need to leave now. And it's working. This is a massive shift. It's exactly what America needed. It's exactly what we voted for in November. It's exactly what Donald Trump promised us, that he would fix Joe Biden's mess. I'm not sure any of us thought it would happen this quickly. And again, there's more work to be done. But boy, how encouraging is it that they've gotten these results this quickly? This is about holding people accountable for 4 years of border patrol. The fact that Biden's DHS was lying about ICE arrests should be a scandal of the highest order, and some people should be prosecuted for it. They should be held responsible. But the Democrats don't care. They don't want the truth. They only care about their narratives. And their narrative was always orange man bad, open borders good. And now that Trump's proving them wrong, they're going to try and ignore this and hope that you and I don't catch on to it, that we don't notice. I got a feeling, though, we're noticing, aren't we? We're keeping up, and we're not going to let them get away with it. So here's the bottom line. ICE is back. Immigration enforcement is back. The days of catch and release are over. The days of open borders are over. And if you're an illegal alien with a criminal record, guess what? Your days in America are numbered because Donald Trump and his enforcement agents are coming after you right now. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. You know what I love about my job? There's never a dull moment, and there's never a lack of topics to talk about. Talk radio right now probably is one of the easiest jobs in America. Now, don't tell my boss that, okay? Listen to this. And I know you're going to think I'll make this stuff up sometimes. A member of a state panel advising the director of Oregon's health authority, known as OHA, on best practices and policies in mental health. You got that? They advise the Oregon Health Authority on mental health issues. This person identifies as a turtle. J.D. Holt, who also goes by J.D. Terrapin on Facebook, is one of roughly 24, quote, consumers on the OHA's Consumer Advisory Council. The council, established by administrative statute, is appointed by the OHA director, Dr. Sehal Hathi, who was appointed by Governor Tina Kotek, a Democrat. The purpose of the OCAC is to advise Hathi on the state's provisions of mental health services, including through investigations and reviews of current practices. In an online post, Mr. Turtle introduced itself.
Hello, everybody. It's JD with turtle and pronouns. Pronouns are turtle and they, them. Hello, everybody. It's JD. I use they, them, or turtle for pronouns. Hello, everybody. It's JD, they, them, and turtle for pronouns in the Springfield, Eugene area.
They, them, turtle pronouns. The site reads, one may feel their gender is replaced by a turtle, or their gender is best described with the use of turtles. Now, during a December 17th meeting, an OHA member introduced themselves as Luke, a shooting star. I don't know which is worse, the turtle or the shooting star. In a statement, OHA said that every member of the Consumer Advisory Council and the perspectives they bring are highly valued. An OHA spokesperson, Amber Shoebriggs, was quoted as saying, in following Oregon statute, every member of the Oregon's Consumer Advisory Council is someone with lived experience, bringing the voice and experiences of people across the state that have experienced behavioral health challenges. Well, if you think you're a turtle and you identify as a turtle, you do have mental health challenges. I just don't know that you should be on an advisory board trying to help other people with mental health issues. In response to questions about how Hathi goes about appointing members of the committee, Shoebridge said in a joint effort that is a joint effort between existing members on the council, a 7-member committee appointed by the council, and the director, who ultimately makes the final decision. Shoebridge added that those selected represent independent, consumer-run organizations, consumer-run advocacy organizations, and consumer-operated advisory councils that are active or headquartered in the state. So I wonder where Mr. Turtle, what organization Mr. Turtle represents. The Association of Turtles? Maybe the Association of Mental Health Turtles. According to the site, duties of the Advisory Council, among other things, include the ability to investigate, evaluate, and recommend the state's behavioral health resources. Specifically, the OCAC develops a working plan with recommendations and goals every year and is also given the authority to establish committees to investigate specific areas of interest related to behavioral health services. And they have a person who identifies as a shooting star and a turtle on this advisory committee. According to the New York Post, the council's governing rules were updated as recently as last year, and state legislators in Oregon have previously taken steps to strengthen this council's role in shaping decisions on mental health services. Now, somebody you would think, in the Oregon State Legislature would see this and think, oh my, we have made a big mistake here. We have a turtle and a shooting star advising our mental health programs. The OHA did not respond to questions about how much money gets allocated to the OCAC in time for publication. However, the OHA budget for the 23-25 biennium was $35.8 billion. I thought that was million at first. $35.8 billion, according to the agency's website. Each council member serves for a term of 2 years and can be reelected once. According to Turtle Holt's public Facebook post, Holt has promoted anarchist causes and encouraged people to obstruct immigration enforcement actions. One of the Facebook posts says what to do at an ICE checkpoint, especially if you're white and or feel the need to jam up the works. Holt wrote in the January 29th Facebook post. Holt's post encouraged people to yell and scream at federal immigration authorities and make their jobs as difficult and uncomfortable as possible. Wow. Hey, by the way, speaking of just absurdities, a new report out this week details the degree in which the Biden administration infused DEI policies into the federal government. We knew it was bad, but now that we see it in black and white, it's even worse than you can imagine. The report says that the authors have produced this as a resource for the Trump administration to continue to identify and destroy DEI practices. So this new study was conducted by the Functional Government Initiative and the Center for Renewing America, not quite sure who that group is, identified 460 programs across 24 government agencies in the Biden administration that diverted resources to DEI initiatives. You want to know what the number was, the value they put on this? At least $1 trillion of our money was put into DEI principles, according to the study. It lays out DEI across several federal agencies, including the Defense Department's plan to integrate environmental economic justice tools into training. FEMA's need to instill equity as a foundation of emergency management, and the Labor Department's push to embed equity in a sustainable manner that recognizes the multiple and overlapping identities held by workers. This kind of stuff was going to get us all killed. Can you imagine our Defense Department integrating environmental economic justice tools when they're trying to protect our security? And no wonder FEMA can't respond to a natural disaster if they're out there trying to instill equity as a foundation of emergency management. This is why our federal government is in the shape it's in. On his first day in office, according to the report, President Joe Biden signed Executive Order 13985, which was aimed at carrying out the stated goal of advancing equity and racial justice throughout the federal government. The report outlines how over the next 4 years, the amount spent on DEI efforts was staggering. It says the cumulative budget of these programs exceeds $1.1 trillion. However, this figure does not encompass all DEI-related expenditures, nor does it include every program across these agencies. The findings reveal a substantial increase in DEI spending, largely attributable to policy directives under the Biden-Harris administration. Of the programs identified, 10 are exclusively dedicated to DEI and could be considered for quick elimination, and Trump has already eliminated some of those. 144 allocate significant resources to DEI initiatives and should be reviewed if those are to be ended. I suspect they're gone. At least I hope they are. And 306 programs incorporate DEI to varying degrees, though the extent of their focus on DEI has not been determined, has not been totally evaluated yet. The report goes department by department. It calculates the DEI programs and provides recommendations on how they should be addressed. The Center for Renewing America senior advisor, Wade Miller, says DEI is deeply rooted throughout all aspects of the federal government, and it needs to be eliminated completely. Thankfully, the Trump administration has already embarked on a vitally necessary complete audit of each and every government program. He says we offer this report in what we hope are additional resources and tools that the new administration and Congress can use to identify, destroy, and permanently remove DEI from the federal government. You know, the amazing thing, folks, and this is scary when you think about it, the speed in which the Biden administration was able to do this, was able to accomplish this in just 4 years. And really not 4 years because, I mean, it takes you, yes, he signed the executive order on day one, but as we are seeing with the Trump administration, as we see in every new administration, it takes a little time to ramp up. It takes time for a new administration to hire and to start implementing their programs. So in effect, you can say that really in about 3 years, this damage was done. This is how quickly a bunch of progressive, liberal leftists can almost take over our lives and destroy our country. And this is why it's even more important for us to stay together, work together, support the Trump administration, and put the GOP members of the U.S. House and the Senate on notice that we expect them, like the House did this week, stick together so that we can dismantle what Joe Biden built piece by piece. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, you know, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On our guest line today, representing South Carolina's 5th Congressional District, Congressman Ralph Norman. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Joey. Glad to be with you.
It's always a pleasure. We haven't had a chance to talk recently. Oh, wow, things are happening kind of fast in Washington, are they not?
Yeah, yesterday was a big day. We've got the continuing resolution through the end of our budget year, which starts October 1, and fund the government and basically let Donald Trump's momentum continue, which is doing unbelievable things for America.
Yeah. The vote was 217 to 213. There was one Republican who opposed it and one Democrat who voted for it. Talk with us about what you like about it and what you don't like about the continuing resolution.
Well, first of all, I seldom vote for. In fact, I don't know if I've ever voted for a continuing resolution. For your listeners, all that means is you're basically budgeting month to month. And we had signed this. We had not finished our 12 appropriation bills. I don't think it's been over 15, 20 years since we've done it, which is just no way to run a peanut stand, much less the federal government. But be that as it is, we decided that, and the Republicans decided that this was the right thing to do. It was we finally got meaningful cuts into our spending, and spending is the cancer in this country, Joey. It's not our income, it's our spending.
Yeah. So Congressman, you're not the only one who's told me that you don't like supporting a CR. Is there any indication that you might actually this fall work on a full budget?
Oh, yeah. The 12 appropriation bills we've got to set limits on. We've committed in other words, we kept the funding open through a CR, continuous resolution, and along with that, we are going to start the process for the 26-27 budget, which means passing out of the House each of the 12 appropriations, and then have meaningful cuts, and then move forward like any company or any family business would do, which to run something, to have a federal budget as big as we have, to have $37 trillion in debt, we've got to begin the process of financial solvency, and it's starting this year under Donald Trump.
Yep. Elon Musk and his organization DOGE, they're getting a lot of coverage. Talk with us about what's been uncovered so far, and what do you think the overall outcome will be? Will the Congress support eliminating some of these programs permanently?
Yes. I mean, the Democrats just are livid. I mean, you'll hear a steady stream of criticism of Elon Musk for being a billionaire, for the rich. But look, he's volunteering his time for this. And the first agency that he opened up because of his genius, the fact that he could do this, which no one else has been able to do, is the U.S. AID, Agency for International Development. It's over 64 years old, but look at what he's found so far.
Yeah.
$2 billion for Stacey Abrams through the greenhouse gas emissions. $45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma.
Yeah.
$20 million for Sesame Street teachings in Iraq. I mean, it's ludicrous what's being revealed to the American people. And once the American people see where their money went, they're going to be livid, as they should be.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's the American people are going to make the call on this, and I don't care how much anybody objects to this. You can't object to it, because for every billion, you have 1,000 millionaires that you could write checks to all over South Carolina. And this one agency he's found over $154 billion that is basically waste, fraud, and abuse. And he's going to do it to every agency of the government.
Yep. With me today, Congressman Ralph Norman. The thing I would love to see is some of those is absurd programs that you mentioned, and there's a long list of those. I'd love to just know who came up with those ideas, who presented them, and who signed off on them.
Well, the Office of Inspector General is the one that should have overseen it.
Yeah.
But politicians have just done this, to be honest with you, Joey, from both sides.
Yeah.
An agency this old, 64 years old, and to let it get this far out. I mean, the intent was to help, over 130 different countries promote democracy, help, around the world, help feed the poor.
Yeah.
And it's anything but that.
Yep.
And so, but you see what's going to be revealed when it goes into Social Security, and President Trump mentioned this during the State of the Union, dead people getting checks. And it's staggering amounts. And from what we're hearing in D.C., it's going to be over $1 trillion that will be cut out, that will be codified this coming year, permanent cuts that can help get this country back on one, out of debt, and two, on a firm financial footing.
Yep. Yesterday, the Secretary of Education announced nearly half of the employees of the Department of Education were fired. We've been talking about eliminating the Department of Education for years now. Are we really going to do it this time, you think?
Yes, we're going to do it because the public is going to be outraged. The taxpayers are going to be outraged at where the money went. And, the fact is, I think the Department of Education is right at a $70 billion price tag with over 1,000 employees. But look what it's promoting. Diversity, equity, inclusion in our schools. It's corrupted our school system. And Donald Trump's intent is to do away with it, as we should have, because, I think Trump referred to this as meritocracy is back in America, meaning you get ahead in this country by your merit, not by the color of your skin, not by race, ethnicity. It's because you are good at what you do, and we're going to forget this propping up of people by promoting an agenda that is going to be the downfall of America if we don't.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it, and it's we the people who are back in charge, and I can't give enough credit to President Trump and the people he's putting in office, Joey. I mean, he's just giving enthusiasm. I don't mind when you're giving the military the $6 billion for Pete Hegseth, who, when I asked him when we had all met with him, I said, what keeps you up at night? And he said, just not having a prepared military that's not funded.
Yeah.
He is reprioritizing the whole military, but that's throughout the whole administration.
Yeah, yeah. Congressman Norman, yesterday, or actually earlier in the week, I guess, you led the South Carolina delegation in sending a letter to President Trump urging him to award the Medal of Freedom to Bobby Richardson. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Bobby Richardson is an American baseball hero, not just for his sports, but for the fact that he's a good man. He's worked hard. He's a role model for thousands of people all over the country. And Rush Limbaugh was a recipient of this. And Bobby Richardson it's time for him to get this. And I think the president, who loves baseball, should grant this. And we've done this, I think, for the last 3 years, because he's not getting any younger, and the time to do it is now. So hopefully he'll consider it and he'll grant it, and be a great day for South Carolina, but for the whole country, because again, Bobby Richardson's life is a role model for so many.
Yeah, Congressman Norman, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do. Hope you're able to rest a little while you're back home. I know you probably have a lot of things planned in the district, but we certainly appreciate what you do for all South Carolinians and for our nation.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to serve.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.